The moment a real crisis starts, the biggest threat isn't the event. It's the part where your brain starts bargaining with reality. You waste time hoping it's a false alarm, scrolling for confirmation, trying to get one more thing done, and by the time you accept it's real, the easy options are gone. That's why the first 24 hours isn't about having the biggest stash. It's about making clean decisions while everyone else is melting down. So I'm going to walk you through 7 rules that make you harder to break when things go sideways. This isn't about being tough, it's about being steady. If you can execute these 7, you'll outperform most people who own twice the gear. Quick disclaimer, this is general preparedness information only. It's not medical advice or legal advice. Follow your local laws, use safe practices, and avoid reckless decisions. The goal is survival through discipline, not confrontation. Rule 1, the rule of 3s, but used the right way. You've heard it before, but most people don't use it as a decision tool. They treat it like trivia. 3 minutes without breathable air, 3 hours without proper shelter in extreme conditions, 3 days without water. This is where the clock really starts ticking. 3 weeks without food. It's a long time, but it's the bottom of your priority list. The reason this matters is because it forces your priorities into the correct order. In a crisis, people jump straight to food. That's emotional. Food feels like control, but your body doesn't work that way. Bad air, smoke, chemical exposure, dust, carbon monoxide, those can drop you fast. Extreme heat or cold can drop you fast. Water problems creep up and wreck your thinking before you realize you're compromised. So the rule of 3s isn't a fun list, it's your priority ladder. If you're making decisions in the first day, you should be asking, is my air safe? Am I protected from heat, cold, wind, and exposure? Do I have reliable water, and can I make it safer? Then, and only then, do I worry about food. Ask yourself something honest right now. In your location, what kills first? Heat, cold, smoke, lack of water? Because that answer should shape your plan more than any gear review on the internet. Rule 2, consumption triage. This is the rule that separates having supplies from making supplies last. Most people consume like it's still normal life. That's the mistake. In the first 24 hours, you do not start burning resources on comfort. You start with a quick assessment. What do we have? What do we need? What is irreplaceable? What is nice to have? Water, critical meds, basic calories, light, and communication are usually the pillars. Your job is to stop accidental waste. A practical example. People blow through batteries because they leave lights on like it's a normal weekend, or they waste drinking water on things that can wait, or they open the fridge and freezer 50 times and destroy their cold storage. Consumption triage means you set rules early while your brain still works. 1 light strategy, 1 cooking strategy, 1 water strategy, 1 charging strategy. And if you want the most useful self-test in this entire video, it's this. Could you cut your consumption in half starting tonight and still function a week from now? Food, fuel, batteries, medicine, everything. If that question makes you nervous, good. That's not shame, that's clarity. Because most people have no idea how fast they burn through what they think is plenty. Rule 3, the gray man principle, but in plain English. When stress hits, attention becomes currency. People who look like they have resources get approached first. Sometimes politely, sometimes not. And even if everyone is well-meaning, being the prepared one paints a target on your back. The simplest version of gray man is stop broadcasting. No loud routines, no obvious displays, no bragging, no visible signals that you're doing better than your street. This isn't about being antisocial. It's about not becoming the story. If you have to go out during instability, neutrality wins. Clothing, behavior, body language, all neutral. Get in, get out, don't perform. At home, keep light discipline. Close blinds at night. Keep noise down. Don't make your home the one glowing island on the block. Ask yourself this. If a stranger saw you tomorrow, would they assume you're well supplied? If the answer is yes, you might be giving away more information than you think. Rule 4, perimeter awareness without turning into a movie. Perimeter awareness is not patrolling. It's not looking for a fight. It's early detection. In normal life, the first time you notice a problem is when it's already at your door. In a crisis, that's too late. Perimeter awareness means you understand what normal looks like around your home, so you can spot what's not normal early. In a suburban setting, that might be unfamiliar vehicles lingering, repeated foot traffic, people testing doors, or activity around empty houses. In an apartment, it's even more important because you share walls and hallways. People can be close to you without being visible. Your awareness needs to include stairwells, hallways, entry doors, and the general rhythm of the building. Time to lock down calmly. Time to move to your core room. Time to make calls if calls work. Time to leave if leaving is the safer option. A simple self-test. Would you know if someone was approaching your door from 100 feet away, day or night? If not, your first layer of defense is basically hope. Rule 5, the reverse 911 mindset. This is the one people hate because it feels harsh. Assume nobody is coming. Not forever. Not in every scenario. But for long enough that you must be able to self-manage. In a large-scale emergency, responders triage. They go to the biggest fires, the biggest medical calls, the biggest threats. If your problem is serious but not the biggest, you may wait a long time. So your plan should not depend on rescue arriving quickly. That means your household needs a minimum baseline of self-reliance. Water, basic medical, light, food buffer, a way to stay warm or cool, a way to communicate. And it also means you identify what parts of your life depend on someone else showing up on time. Do you rely on a pharmacy refill schedule, daily deliveries, a medical device that needs power, a commute that requires fuel every 2 days? List your dependencies, then build backups where you can. Self-reliance isn't a personality, it's a design choice. Rule 6, mental load management. This is where a lot of well-prepared people collapse, even with a full pantry, because stress eats decision-making. It turns small problems into panic. It creates tunnel vision. It makes you rush when you should slow down. It makes you snap at your own family. It makes you do 10 tasks badly instead of 3 tasks well. So mental load management means you build structure. You do fewer things, but you do them on purpose. You set a simple routine fast, and you pre-assign roles if you live with others. One person handles water, one person handles food, one person handles communication and information, one person checks the house basics. This reduces collisions, reduces arguments, and reduces wasted time. Here's the real test. Under stress, do you slow down and think clearly, or do you speed up and make mistakes? Most people don't know until it counts, and that's the problem. The time to learn your stress pattern is before you're living inside it. Rule 7, information doctrine. In a crisis, information becomes a resource. Not entertainment, not a dopamine hit, a resource. And the first thing that happens to information is not it disappears. It gets noisy. Rumors spike. People exaggerate. Videos get recycled. Fake claims spread. Even official updates can lag behind reality. So your job is to build a simple information system that still works when your phone doesn't. That can include a battery radio, a pre-written family contact plan, and one out-of-area contact everyone can reach if local networks are overloaded. And it also includes information discipline. You do not need 100 updates per hour. You need reliable updates at set times, and then you go back to executing your plan. Here's the hard question. If your phone went dead right now, how would you know what's happening beyond your immediate area? If you don't have an answer, you're not informed. You're dependent. Now let's tie the 7 rules together because this is the point. These rules aren't separate. They stack. The rule of 3 sets your priority ladder. Consumption triage makes your supplies last. Gray man reduces attention and risk. Perimeter awareness buys time. Reverse 911 mindset keeps your plan realistic. Mental load management keeps your household functional. Information doctrine keeps you from making choices based on noise. If you want the simplest version of this entire video, here it is. In the first 24 hours, your job is to become boring, stable, and hard to rush. Not brave, not loud, not reactive, stable. And the way you become stable is by doing the few things that matter in the right order and refusing to waste energy on the things that don't. So here's a final self-check you can do tonight. No gear purchases required. 1. Where is your best shelter spot in your home for heat, cold, and safety? 2. Do you have at least 3 days of water you can actually access? 3. Could you cut your consumption in half without falling apart? 4. Would you stand out as the prepared person in your area? 5. Would you know a problem was approaching before it reached your door? 6. Do you have a simple routine and roles for stress days? 7. How would you get reliable information without the internet? If you can answer those, you're ahead. If you can't, good. That means you found the weak points while the cost of fixing them is low. Preparedness is not a collection, it's a system. And systems win when the world gets unpredictable.